date? How things gone so far with you?
Yeah, we're 10 days away, it sounds like, from our first game. And, a lot of work that we still need to do. We had a closed scrimmage this Saturday, which I thought was very helpful for us. We have another one this Saturday. We do that instead of the exhibition games. Get to play more. And you also get to play against better teams than you do in those exhibition games. So I think it helps you really figure out what you need to work on. So, we took some things out of that film to try to get ourselves ready. And obviously, there's still a lot of work to do before the opener. And the most important thing I would say is that there's so much progress that we still need to make before our MAC opener that the November, is it the 13th or the 12th? November 12th, obviously, that's really important. But the January game is when we really need to get ourselves ready for that. Yeah.
They talked about his weight loss.
Yeah.
Wow, how impressive has that been for you looking at it?
Yeah, we've had a lot of guys that have really worked hard in the off season. Adonis is the most noticeable one from a weight loss perspective. Danny Pippen has gained 20 pounds since he arrived on campus, so he's been from a different angle. But we've had a lot of guys put in a lot of work when you're here for 8 weeks during the summer, the entire preseason, practice, weight room, film sessions, individual work in the morning. When you add it all up, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into trying to get yourself individually prepared, our team prepared for the season. And, a lot of these guys have put in a ton of work to try to get ready.
How much are you going to lean on the seniors, this year, especially with the amount of guys
Yeah.
you have in this roster?
Yeah, I mean, to me, college basketball, outside of, a couple teams here and there, you got the Dukes and Kentuckys that everybody talks about, but it's a senior game in college. I mean, that's what it is. That's what you play for your senior year. The rest of your team has to play for your seniors and not want to let them down. Your seniors have to lead. Both Dion and Jimmy are in completely different roles than they've ever been in before from that standpoint. J-Boy John has always been a leader, and his role is different because he doesn't play a ton. But for Dion and Jimmy, this is a very new experience for them. There's times that I think they need to do a better job with that, but there's times that you see them progressing with their leadership. And to me, that's what the season boils down to. You're playing for your seniors. And if we can all come together and rally around the three guys that were here prior to me, then we could have a tremendous season.
How beneficial is it to have the younger guys look up to the three seniors you just mentioned?
Yeah, that's it. Listen, that's the most important thing. I mean, Danny Pippen in particular, as a true freshman, everything Jimmy says and everything Jimmy does, he's following everything he does. Jimmy's been a great player here. I think he's already scored over 1,000 points in college, and whatever the number of rebounds he is, and two-time first-team all-conference player, that's what Danny aspires to be. Any similar position, he looks up to him every day. And Jimmy, the one thing Jimmy does at a really high level is that every day in practice, he practices hard. Dion as well. The biggest adjustment for both of them is it's not just them practicing hard. It's making sure everybody practices hard, making sure they're saying the right things, making sure they're doing the right things. All of those things, because that's what leadership is. It's beyond just seeing on the court what you do. It's how you act. It's how you prepare. Nobody works harder at preparing for practice than Dion. He's in the training room an hour every day prior to, after practice to get his body ready. So it's all of those other things that, I think all these new guys, I think there's 10 of them total in some capacity. It's hard for Jimmy and Dion and John. It's hard for those three guys, but that's the weight that they have to bear.
I know you guys are up and down the first three guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it changes. That's the thing. That's been my biggest. When you return a core of players, maybe you have one or two guys stepping into new roles. you sort of know, like I know Jimmy's going to play. I know Dion's going to play. But even Dion, he's got to prove that he can be consistent to the level he needs to be. When you bring back 4, 5, 6 guys, you sort of have an idea of what they can bring, and then maybe a guy has to make a jump like Dion does. He has to become more consistent. But I got 10 guys here that, you know what, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago who the top 5 guys are, and you asked me today, it's a totally different 5. And that's a problem. I'm not going to sit here and act like that's a good thing. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's the way it is. And that may be the way it is for a while here. So I have to figure out who can perform consistently in games. Our players have to be and show consistency in practice and then in games. That's why the St. Bonaventure scrimmage for us was so important, because some of these guys that were playing well, now they're playing against somebody else, right? And those guys are all conference guards or forwards that are, you know, trying to prove themselves, and being able to translate that against other guys, that's important to see, so that then, okay, let's see what you do in those games. Let's see what you do this Saturday. And that's why, again, November 12th is our starter. That's the most important day of the year will be November 12th. But to me, the most important day is really going to be in January, because we're going to need those games to figure out who can do what under what circumstances. You know, pressure, free throws. Guy makes 90%, but when you have a 1-and-1 with under a minute to go and it's a 1-point game, do you make those or do you not make those? And it's different. So we're going to use this preseason. I mean, we're going to win some games, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it's going to be, you may say, okay, why did these 5 guys end this game, and why did these 5 guys end this game? And that's me trying to figure out, okay, who can we rely on in mid-January, February, March? What's most important for us?
Obviously, you want to win games, but from what you're saying, it sounds like the record isn't necessarily going to be a reflection of.
No, the record's important. No. Don't kid yourself. Listen, I know that's what you are, right? I think Coach Parcells once said, "You are what your record says you are." No, we are what we are. But it's always a process. It's not ever not a process. But this year, probably more challenging than any year that I've been here, is the process is going to be, you know, I don't want to say we're starting from scratch. We have one of the best players to ever play here, so we're not doing that. But we are starting with a lot of new faces and trying to figure out who can do what we need them to do, what the team needs them to do in different circumstances. You know, that's not something that gets developed in a day.
So I'd say that, you know, I've earned the right to start the first game. It's kind of one of them deals where I'm just, okay, you got the right to start this game.
Yeah.
You got the first shot to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And then we go from there.
Yeah, and you know what? Saturday will not have the same starters as last Saturday, so that answers that. Yeah. You people earned that right, and then some people played well enough to continue, and some people didn't play well. Well, now they got to earn it back. You know, through practice. You know, we practiced 4 times this week through practice, and then we'll see what we do on Saturday in our next scrimmage. And you know, the league obviously is so good, the best it's ever been, I think, in terms of its preseason rankings and players returning and all that stuff. So we have a lot of things to prove to get ourselves ready for that point. And to me, that's the biggest goal is, okay, how are we playing January, February, March?
What's it mean to you to play those Power 5 teams, Texas, Oregon State?
Well, the best thing, yeah, Oregon State is the fact that they're coming back here the following year. That you know, I really appreciate their coach doing that, because nobody does that. I mean, I think our league has 0 Power 5 teams playing in their building this year. It's just so hard to get those teams here. So the fact that their coach was willing to do that, that's why, you know, if they told us to play any day, we were going to play them, because we get a chance to bring them back here, which is an unbelievable opportunity for the following year. But you know, we always play a team like a Texas or whoever it may be, but you know, the most important games, to me, the best indicators are when you play at Northeastern, because at Northeastern is like playing at Bowling Green, or it's like playing at Buffalo. Those are teams that are similar leagues, similar resources. You know, if you can't win at Northeastern, you know, you got to learn from that so that you can win at Buffalo when it's time. So those games are equally as important, if not more important. Obviously, the Oregon State and Texas game, they're both on TV. They're both Power 5 schools. Oregon State will come back here, which is awesome for our program and for our fans. But the biggest indicators of where we are, are going to be, when you play Cleveland State on a neutral site. Okay, the first round of our MAC tournament hopefully is on a neutral site. How do you perform in that environment? How do you perform against Northeastern? How do you perform NJIT, who, smaller school, quote unquote, but great program. I mean, won a ton of games. Like, how do you play in that game? Those are the games that'll really be good indicators, right? State, yeah.
How can playing in the Gulf Coast Showcase, obviously there's one game guaranteed.
Yeah, no, three. Yeah, you
there's
play 3 games. We
Okay.
know the first one, yep, which is South Dakota.
Okay, so the other one's like the George Mason.
Yeah.
Depend on.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. So those games, that's a great field too. That's another really good early season test for us. I don't know much about South Dakota, so I haven't studied them yet. I'm really just starting to watch Cleveland State right now. But, I know the field is always very good. Central Michigan went down there last year and went 0-3, and they were pretty good. It's not like they were a good team, Central Michigan. So it's always very good with a lot of like teams, again, similar to the Northeasterns. And you got George Mason, and Houston, I think, is supposed to be one of the top teams in the AAC this year. So, you've got a lot of good teams down there that we have to prepare for. And when you play 3 games in 3 days, your bench and your ability to bounce back after a big win or ability to bounce back after a tough loss, all of those things get tested. So that's really important for us, and it's a great time for it to happen for us as well.
At the breakfast, you said some nice things about all 3 of your point guards.
I was lying.
Huh?
I was lying.
What's point guard look like?
Yeah, Kevin, Jalen, Rozelle, those 3 guys will handle that position. And with that being said, in a lot of ways, Jimmy turns into our point guard when we get the ball to half court. So those 4 guys that I just mentioned, okay, Jalen Avery, who's got incredible vision, Kevin Zabo, who's got a little bit of both. He can score, he can pass. Rozelle, who's sort of learning how to play at that spot, but brings a unique gift in his size for that position. And then Jimmy. Those 4 guys, their assist-to-turnover ratio, it's got to be close to 2-to-1 for us to have success. Jalen Avery will definitely be 2-to-1 because that's what he does. Jimmy, Rozelle, Kevin, those guys, they've got to make sure that they're really doing a great job of taking care of the basketball, making plays for others, simplifying the game. That's the most important spot. I mean, there is nothing more important in college basketball than having a good point guard. And they don't have to score, but they got to be able to keep the other guy from scoring. They got to lead your team on the court. They've got to take care of the basketball. They got to get you into what you need to get into when it's time to do that. Point guard play, that's the key to the game.
Do you go in more concerned, with some of the guys, more concerned about your ability to score, more concerned about your ability to defend?
A little of it all, right now, we have some good offensive players, but it's different being a good offensive player in open gym than it is in a college game. It's different being a good scorer in junior college than it is Division I. It's different being a good scorer in high school than it is Division I. So that's certainly a concern, and then defending at this level. But we've worked a ton on defending because last year we did have some slippage in our defense. Even though we had Khalik, who was the Defensive Player of the Year, we had some slippage when Jalen and Xavier went out. So we've really worked on that because I believe that in our league, if you look at our league, we're all the same in how we play. When you go to different leagues, different teams have different styles. This team fast breaks, this team presses, this team half court grinds it out. In our league, we all grind it out. You take away Central Michigan, which shoots a ton of threes, and Ohio, which is really offensive-oriented team. The rest of us, we all have the same principles, the same, grind it out, half court, make it tough for the other team to score, got to rebound. So we're all trying to show some toughness, and that's obviously the thing that we're working on the most here right now.
How about Jimmy, just skill set wise in the offseason?
Yeah, I think he's expanded his game to the three-point line. Now, is he going to be shooting threes like Dev Manley did or Jalal? No, he's not, but he is going to shoot threes this year. And, through practice, he's percentage-wise, he leads the team because he doesn't shoot a ton and he only shoots them when he's open. But there's things where you're going to see him pick and pop to the three-point line, and people may say, oh, what is he doing? But we need him to shoot those, and we need him to shoot at the percentage that he's shooting in practice, and we need him to shoot them confidently because it will space the floor for us, and it'll allow him to do some other things as well. So he's worked on that a ton, and I think that's probably been the biggest thing he's expanded on his game. His strength is better. He knows he needs to rebound better this year without Khalik. But I think that would be the biggest expansion that you see in his game. He will shoot some threes this year. Mm-hmm.
That may kind of help him at the next level too.
Yeah, you know what? I think so. I think the biggest thing for him in terms of being able to play after Kent is rebounding. Those numbers, he's got to rebound at an even higher level than he did last year. I think he was second on our team in rebounding, but he had a couple games where he was at 18, 17, 16 rebounds. Now, he needs to have a bunch of games where he's getting double figures in rebounds for us. All right, great, guys. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing everybody, hopefully at all the games, right? We'll see you at all the games.